Now, I got a nice news story from Politico. I mean, we all know that your phone's listening to you and that Google and any other web domain service that you use, whether it be Facebook or anything else, they use your data. They track your data. They watch what you pay for. Even Amazon, all the information every single time you make a keystroke, every single time I come over here with my mouse and I click on something or look at something or scroll over this ad for too long, all of that gets recorded, and it's metadata. At least I believe it's metadata. Well, all of that gets shoved into little packets of information and gets sold. It gets sold to different ad companies. Facebook invests a lot of money in things like this, and let's just say that they're targeted ads. If you're ever sitting around talking to your significant other or friends and your phone's out and you're talking about, oh man, I really wish that I had that certain camera. Maybe I'll be able to get that camera next time I get paid or something because I really want the increased quality and blah, 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 blah. Well, your friends go home and you decide to start scrolling around on your phone, and then all of a sudden you're on Facebook and you're scrolling around, you see an ad for this camera on sale that you were just talking about, and you think, oh, it's serendipitous, that's such a coincidence. Well, no, it's listening to you. And no, it's not a conspiracy, it really is. All those permissions for all the apps and everything that you use, they use your microphone, they track data, and they constantly listen to things. They say that they don't use it for nefarious purposes or anything like that, but you already know. They're tracking data, and they use that to build a profile on you, and they sell your data to all these ad companies. And they produce targeted ads specific to you because they know your psychology by the things that you talk about, the things that you click on, and the things that you already have on your phone, and the things you look up. So they know almost exactly what you want already. By doing targeted ads that way, they already know that if they showed you a very specific thing that already would have piqued your interest, that you have much higher odds of actually clicking on the ad and looking into it and maybe spending money, because this entire world runs on money. The saddest thing is, even when it's on something like this, Suicide Hotline shares data for profit spinoff, raising ethical questions. If you didn't know already, you're the product. Now, the Crisis Text Line's AI-driven chat service has gathered troves of data from its conversations with people suffering from life's toughest situations. Crisis Text Line is one of the world's most prominent mental health support lines, a tech-driven nonprofit that uses big data and artificial intelligence to help people cope with traumas such as self-harm, emotional abuse, and thoughts of suicide. I'm going to stop it right there. A lot of these people that are suffering from end-all be-all situations, like thoughts of suicide, and a lot of that stuff has loneliness as a contributing factor and not actually having a human connection. How is an AI, artificial intelligence text line, such a popular source of help? I understand that if someone is possibly suicidal, that, you know, they might not want to confide in people that they know and fear some kind of backlash or something, but you know, hey, maybe this is a good chance. If you're listening to this right now and you know somebody that's down in the dumps, be a human being, actually show them some kindness. Maybe we will hear about less stuff like this. Anyway, the data in the charity collects from its online text conversations with people in their darkest moments does not end there. The organization's for-profit spinoff uses sliced and repackaged versions of that information to create market customer service software. Crisis Text Line says that any data it shares with that company has been wholly anonymized, stripped of any detail that could be used to identify people who contacted the helpline in distress. Both entities say that their goal is to improve the world, in Lori's case, by making customer support more human, empathetic, and scalable. No, you're not going to do that with artificial intelligence. Thank you. In turn, Loris has pledged to share some of its revenue with the crisis text line. The nonprofit also holds an ownership stake in the company, and the two entities share the same CEO for at least a year and a half. The two call their relationship a model for how commercial enterprises can help charitable endeavors thrive. No, you mean like philanthropy? Philanthropy? Or philanthropist? No, you're a corporate entity using AI and probably taking advantage of people at their weakest moments. But they don't know it. The Crisis Text Line, an organization for financial backing for some of the Silicon Valley's biggest players. I want to say that again. For Crisis Text Line, an organization with financial backing from some of the Silicon Valley's biggest players, has control of what it is called the largest mental health data set in the world. Highlights new dimensions of the tech privacy debates rolling in Washington. Giant companies like Facebook and Google have built great fortunes based on the masses of deeply personal data, but information of equal or greater sensitivity is in the hands of nonprofit groups that fall outside of federal regulations and commercial businesses with little outside control over where that data ends up. Now, ethics and privacy experts contacted by Politico saw several potential problems with the arrangement. You don't say. Some noted that studies of other types of anonymized data sets have shown that it can sometimes be easy to trace records back to specific individuals, citing past examples involving health records, genetic data, and even passengers in New York City taxis. And they do that for a reason, because I'm pretty sure this is tied into targeted marketing, and it's also part of an overall census of a demographic in an area. And if they're collecting information on the mental health per capita in a specific region, that could be one thing that they're doing, and it could still be tied into all the other things I was talking about before. Others questioned whether the people who text their pleas for help actually consenting to having their data shared, despite approximately 50-paragraph disclosure in the helpline offer link. Who is gonna read that? Really, like if you're dealing with what you're dealing with to be able to text this thing, you're not gonna be worried about disclosures and fine print bullshit. The nonprofit may have legal consent, but do they have actual meaningful, emotionally fully understood consent? Asked Jennifer King. The privacy and data follows the Stanford University Institute for Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence. These are people at their worst moments. Using that data to help other people is one thing, but commercializing it seems like a real ethical line for a nonprofit cause. That's pretty much exactly how I feel on that sort of thing. Disclosure terms also note that Meta's Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp services can access the content of conversations taking place through those platforms. Meta confirmed that it has access to the data, but it does not use any of it, except for the cases involving risk of imminent harm. Former federal regulator said that it would be problematic for third-party companies to have access to the anonymized data. Though she cautioned that she was unfamiliar with these companies involved. It would be contrary to what the expectations and the distressed consumers are reaching out for the nonprofit. A former director of Federal Trade Commission's Bureau of Consumer Protection, she later added that the fact that the data is transferred to a non-for-profit company makes much more troubling. See, they transfer the data to a for-profit company, a huge corporation probably, makes this a much more troubling and gives the FTC an angle for asserting a jurisdiction. The nonprofit's vice president and general counsel, Sean Rodriguez, said in an email to Politico that the crisis text line obtains information consent from each of its texters, and that the organization's data sharing practices are clearly stated in the terms of service and privacy, which all texters consent in order to be paired a volunteered crisis counselor. I thought it said it was an AI, but maybe it's just the assessment of getting initialized. So it goes on. It was launched in 2013. And this is how much data it could actually collect. Over the course of time since 2013, the crisis text line says that it has exchanged 219 million messages and more than 6.7 million conversations over text, Facebook, Messenger, and WhatsApp. Channels say that it allows it to meet more often useful clients based where they are. It has spread beyond the U.S. to open operations in Canada, UK, and Ireland. The New York-based nonprofit, actually, says it knows how deeply personal and urgent these silent conversations are for those reaching out. And LGBTQ or living in rural areas, 68% of the texters share something with us that they have never shared with anyone else, the helpline wrote in one government filing. Like I was saying before, it's just being decent human beings will go a long way and help a lot of people. If we were more personable towards our neighbors or just people that we ran into at the grocery store, instead of being arrogant pricks all the time, you just be a little nicer to your neighbor. And by neighbor, I mean anyone that you really come in contact with that's in your community. That's all you need to do. There's always somebody having a bad time. We know that if you text the word numbs and sleeve, there is a 99% match for cutting. The nonprofit co-founder and former CEO Nancy Lublin said 2015 at TED Talk that we know if you text the words MG and rubber band, there's a 99% match for substance abuse. And we know that if you text in sex, oral, Mormon, that you're questioning if you're gay. Wow, that's weird. But okay. Oh, these people are creepy. I love data, added Lubin, who was also described as the helpline as a tech startup. She had previously founded the group for Dress for Success, which provides business clothing and job training to women in need. This month, Lublin referred to questions about the relationship between the helpline and Loris Hertz, the current CEO. So yeah, they just go on and keep talking about it. This is a speak out section. Volunteers speak out. Former crisis text line worker Tim Rearson has a different term for Loris's use of the crisis lines, and he calls it disrespectful. When you're in a conversation with someone and you don't know how it's going to end, it's a very delicate and tender and fragile space. Said Rearson, who started a public campaign to try to change the nonprofit's data practices. He said the people who contact the text line, many of them teens or younger, include someone staring at blades on their table in front of them, or somebody hiding from a parent who's on a rampage, someone who's struggling with an eating disorder, someone who's already ready to end their life. In his experience as a volunteer, he said he believes that those individuals definitely have an expectation that the conversation is between just the two people that are talking. That is a very, very good point. See, former volunteer Allison Diver, who described talking one texter out of jumping off a freeway bridge and another off of a hotel balcony, left crisis text line in July. She said that she has since signed on to change.org petition that Rearson started that urges nonprofit to change its practice of monetizing crisis conversations as data as soon as possible. Diver expressed alarm after hearing Rearson describe nonprofit data practices. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. They see you as profit, and you're just a product to all these major companies. Like most of the people that are really high up, executive level chairs of companies, corporations, they're complete and total psychopaths. They don't really have normal human emotion. They don't sympathize with people, especially lowly people like us. They're just going to use all your data for their own financial means, and whatever, even if it is nefarious, it could be. And then we can get on to some politics, but before that, I want to talk about some Maine news that's actually fucking hilarious. Look at this. Arrest after Maine pair tries to bail out inmate with fake money. Both people have previously been charged with 4 counts of aggravated drug trafficking and violating conditions of release based on earlier drug charges. You gotta be fucked up on something to try to bail someone out of jail with fake money. I mean, Jesus Christ. This is in Maine, in the United States. This was published yesterday by New Center, Maine. Police in Maine say that they found more drugs and guns in an apartment rented by 2 people who they have also accused of trying to bail out an inmate using counterfeit money. The Sun Journal reports investigators found the drugs and the guns in a Bangor apartment. No, this is Bangor. Both people had previously charged with 4 counts of aggravated trafficking and violating conditions of release based on earlier drug charges. The 2 people were jailed Wednesday on $100,000 bail. It was unclear if they had hired attorneys. No, probably not. Yeah, how many... that makes me think about that TikTok sound reel that I heard. And on today's episode of How Fucked Up is Fucked Up. It's fucked up, and that's fucked up. This is great. There's actually a really bad problem in Maine with drugs, and some part of it, I almost feel like it's they call it cabin fever. You're stuck inside all winter long. There's a lot of guys like fishermen. Some of the ones that aren't nearly as hardy, they take even more time off in the wintertime. But they make a lot of money during the summer, and they sit around their house all winter, and they have absolutely nothing to do besides chores and drugs. That's why there's a lot of people in Maine that either have a lot of kids, or they're an alcoholic, or they're on a bunch of drugs, or all of the above. Or you could be like me and work 50 to 60 hours a week and not have any time to do anything. Now, heroin is actually a terrible, terrible, terrible epidemic in Maine right now for some really weird reason. And it's just everywhere. Everywhere you go. They're like, I used to live all over the South. I lived in Tampa, Florida for a year. I lived in on the outskirts of Austin. I also lived on the outskirts of Dallas, which I do not recommend. Originally from the Southwest Louisiana area, and every region of the United States, it's almost like they all have a drug that they're famous for. Like, ironically enough, it was crack in Louisiana, and most of the South is all speed and cocaine and crack and Molly in Florida. And you come up to the northeastern states, it's heroin everywhere. And then you can jump all the way past the Midwest, because they're all just fucking hippie stoners, and go all the way to California, and it's more heroin. And it's just fucking everywhere. So that's that. I almost feel like if we just legalize all the drugs, we just unfortunately end up weeding people out. Or maybe it'll be like me with drinking, because when I was too young to drink, it was a thrill, and I used to drink all the fucking time. Every time I got a chance to, social gatherings, parties, whatever, I was drunk. I was practically an alcoholic. But after I turned 21 and I was fully able to just walk down to the store and get it myself, I almost lost all complete and total fucking interest in it, and didn't even matter to me anymore. Who knows? Maybe it'll be like that. I got this stuck on me from Yahoo Finance. We all knew that this was coming. We knew it. There's no way that you could have not known that this was gonna happen. You give people $900 to $1,000 whatever dollars a week for months on end, and this is where it gets you. But that's not it. It's not just from the past 2 years of unemployment and shutdowns. and stops in our economy. It started a long time ago, long before this, and it's finally starting to catch up to us. And all of these things that take time to actually cause an effect, it really makes you wonder where we're going to be within the next couple of years, 2 to 5 years, maybe. I don't know if you remember, but the 2008 recession, I believe it was around the 2008 recession, all the big banker bailouts that were coming out. Well, as those things were happening and bills were being signed and banks were starting to get bailed out, we were told by Obama and the Treasury Department at the time that we would only be taking care of U.S. entities, and that the bailouts were only going to be a total of $5 trillion, which would have been is still insane today with all the corona relief and everything, all the infighting and everything that it took to get what we did get passed. Well, there was FISA repeals, and they got put off until I believe it was 2025, and this was back in 2008 when they first signed the appeal. Now, someone had been looking into it and waiting for it for a long time, and we're getting a lot closer to the date. They decided to file more paperwork for disclosure, and they're learning that instead of $5 trillion like we were originally promised, they did a whole bunch of economic jujitsu, like they were trying to do in the Build Back Better bill, where it would have costed you $5 trillion, but there were reoccurring payments over time, over a span of 3 to 5 years, that would have ended up costing, I think it was almost $20 trillion once you added everything up. No, to backtrack back to the Obama administration when the recession was happening and he signed the banker bailouts that were $5 trillion. I can't remember the exact. I read it a little while ago. I forgot to save it. It was $20 to $30 trillion, and it wasn't only U.S. based bank. It was the Bank of Ireland and many other offshore banks, like the Maine Central Bank of Japan. And these are things that you could look up. I swear to it. I know what I read. I was taking a shit and scrolling down my phone, and I saw it and was like, wow, this is insane. I looked at 2 different sources and I forgot to save it. I don't even remember where I was from, but that's how that happened. So now we get into this. There's always a cause and effect. These things that happened, what seemed like it wasn't too long ago, but now you can think about it, it was a little while ago now. A lot of these major, gigantic transactions usually take a little while to go through, especially when you're dealing with centralized banks and our banking system and capitalism and all this and that, and the stocks like to go up and down. And usually if we spend a lot of money, more money goes into circulation, and it can carry it for a little while, but it will always come back to bite you in the ass when you have more money in circulation than you've ever had, because all we're doing is printing money all the time. And it's reasonable to print money all the time as you need it in small batches to keep a constant cash flow in the society. But when you're overprinting constantly, thinking that all the imaginary numbers that you're just typing into a computer screen isn't going to change anything or have any real life consequences, we end up seeing stuff like this start hitting us after so long. So this is Yahoo Finance from Bloomberg Financial. U.S. consumer spending drops with inflation hitting a 40-year high. I'll say that again. A 40-year high. Inflation hasn't been as high as it is now in 40 years. Now, U.S. consumer spending drops with inflation 40-year high. Bloomberg. U.S. inflation-adjusted consumer spending fell last month by the most since February, suggesting that Americans tempered their outlays amid the latest COVID-19 wave of fastest inflation in nearly 40 years. I'll say one thing too is like when I went to go get groceries this past few weekends, I used to spend $100 a week. I got pretty good about it, not buying name brand stuff, just being a minimalist, and we go hunting sometimes, and every once in a while we'll actually get something that stays in the deep freezer, and we use that for meat for a little while. Well, my $100 grocery bill, I'm a creature of habit. I do the same thing all the time, and I'm very, very consistent about what I do. Every single time I go to the grocery store, I buy the exact same things every single time. The only difference is one or two different meals that we like to change up for the weekend or something like that, because we have like an oddly tightly structured food regimen for some reason. I don't know. It's just always worked that way because it's cheap, and I try to buy reasonably healthy food, and I don't know. I like what I like, and I'm like I said, I'm a creature of habit. I just buy the same stuff all the time, and I like it like that. We just get snacks every once in a while to add to it. Yeah, my $100 grocery bill ended up being $180 for the exact same shit. And yeah, all the markups and inflation and everything else is getting pretty crazy. It wasn't 4 or 5 months ago. I can go to Walmart. I hate shopping at Walmart, but I can go to Walmart and find on sale bacon for $3 a pound, or $3.99, and those same packages are almost $7 right now. It's ignorant. For $7 for 1 pound of bacon, the cheap bacon. It's getting kind of scary, and I've only gotten $1 raise, so yeah, I'm getting kind of fucked, like a lot of other people. What it goes on to say in this article, the personal consumer expenditures price scout gauge, what the Federal Reserve uses for its inflation target, rose 0.4% from a month earlier and 5.8% from December 2020, the most since 1982. Unadjusted for inflation, spending fell 0.6%, while incomes rose 0.3%. Exactly. And another sign of inflation pressures throughout the economy, a separate Labor Department report Friday showed us U.S. employment cost rose at a robust pace for a second straight quarter, highlighting the rapid compensation gains seen in the second half of the year as businesses competed for a limited supply of workers. The data come after the Fed seeking to tame inflation and preserve the recovery endorsed by interest rate liftoff in March and opened the door for more frequent and potentially larger hikes than anticipated following the two-day policy meeting on Wednesday. A surge in coronavirus infections due to the Omicron variant likely slowed the spending in December as Americans stayed home. And high gas prices were also a deterring factor that impact could carry over from the beginning of the first quarter as economic activity remains subdued, though most analysts expect a slowdown to be short-lived. The Bloomberg economist says, even though the latest data simply implies a sizable near-term drop in activity, we estimate the slowdown will be short-lived. With virus cases having already peaked, robust gains in labor income will continue to support healthy gains in consumer spending as the year progresses. Yelena Shortishon, whatever the hell that name is, and Andrew Husby, economist. There's a risk that the high inflation that we're seeing will be prolonged. Oh, I thought it was transitory. There's no such thing as transitory inflation. There's a risk that it will move even higher. Chair Jerome Powell said during the press conference Wednesday, we will have to be in a position with our monetary policy to address all of these plausible outcomes. The media forecast for Bloomberg's survey of economists called 1.1% decrease in inflation, adjusted spending to 5.8% rise in the price index from a year ago. A separate report Thursday showed personal spending grew 3.3% in three final months, in the three final months of 2021, led by a pickup service service outlays. Friday's data for the December suggests that consumer outlays concentrated on the earlier part of the fourth quarter. Inflation-adjusted good expenditures slumped 3.1%, while spending on services rose 0.1%, according to Friday's data. The report also showed that personal incomes increased in December by a slower pace than 0.5% in the prior month. So you're basically your money is worth less, and you're making less money also. The savings rate, or personal savings as a share disposable income, rose to 7.9% as the second straight increase, declining for much of the year. Wages and salaries advanced 0.7% in December after a 0.6% increase in the prior month, as companies continue to pay to attract workers amid low labor supply. Despite sizable pay increases on nominal terms, inflation is eating away at incomes. Disposable personal income or after-tax income adjusted for inflation fell 0.2% last month for the fifth straight decline. The core price index, which includes food and energy, rose 4.9% from a year ago, and the most since 1983. The price pressures are expected to remain elevated in the coming months before cooling later this year. Now, there's I had the oil guy. If you live in the north, my oil guy came, and I ordered 100 gallons of K1 heating oil, and this guy, everybody makes mistakes. He ended up filling my tank, and I had a paper on my door with a $860 bill. $860 for 260 gallons of heating oil. That would have usually, if I filled my tank a year ago today, it would have been half that money. It would have been $300 to $400 for almost a full tank of oil. I just make enough money to be able to cover all of my bills, and I just so happen to have enough money to be able to cover stuff like that and keep my oil account going and strong. Anyway, there's a lot of people that don't actually have the monetary means and live paycheck to paycheck, and all the people that are on SSI, Social Security, and disability, those people, they haven't actually had substantial gains in any of their coverages, and they're still stuck in getting what they get, basically. I know how some of those systems work. If they're going to get an increase, it's going to be, you get like $600 a month to live off of. We're going to give you another $20, and that's about it. And they might be lucky enough to get food stamps to help them out. Now, hopefully, we can remedy some of these things. Like one of the things was the pipelines that keep getting shut down, and fracking. Yes, there's a bad byproduct to any industrial process that we do, but we have a lot of things going on, like where everybody's tiptoeing around the idea of war with Russia, and if you wanted to hurt Russia financially and not actually have a full war with Russia and have more or less a covert sanction on them, you don't actually have to sanction any of the trade. All you have to do is let America become energy independent again, and then Russia wouldn't be one of the leading exporters of oil anymore, and they wouldn't be able to fund a war. We would be in a much better position financially and financially and every other way. And a lot of people would appreciate the fact that we'd be energy independent, and there's a lot of people that, if we were to do all these rolling blackouts with solar power and inconsistent means of powering our homes without using any kind of fossil fuels, the people that are in poverty are just going to be even worse off. And the people in the lower middle class, which there is really no middle class, we're all in poverty now. That's basically the way it is. It's just going to get a lot worse. And I wish I could end on a happy note. I really wanted to. But all the articles that I saw that stuck out to me in recent news that I wanted to talk about was not very happy and uplifting. Maybe I'll find some more that will be happier next time. If you like what you heard and you want to follow me, I just made a Facebook page. It's called Where Will You Stand? It's got the same logos and everything as my Anchor and Spotify logo. I'm also on YouTube. I'm going to be uploading my video much later than audio, and it takes freaking forever. So, yeah, if you find me on Facebook, go ahead and like my page and follow my content. I like to share memes, and once I get enough people on it, I actually want to make it open, because the whole premise of this podcast, especially since what I really want to do is not just share the news. I want to be able to interview people and take your side of where you stand on all of these issues that I like talking about and shedding a little bit of light on. Maybe we could start that with a public discussion on a forum like my Facebook page or YouTube comments. If you find Where Will You Stand on YouTube, you could like and subscribe to the videos. I'll do bite-sized clips that are a little bit easier to digest on YouTube. And whatever the topic is in that video, you could discuss it. And I'm thinking about maybe even making a Reddit channel, Reddit page too, that we can use to we could probably use that to diverse some content and actually share each other's views, and debate a little bit, and actually see where everybody stands on certain issues. Thank you for anybody that's listening right now. This is Casey Thomas for Where Will You Stand? Catch me next time. I'm going to start uploading regularly Monday through Friday. I want to do short videos, do it in mini segments, try to find something happy, try to find something scientific, try to find something political, and also try to find something a little historical, and just have like a nice little mix that's subjugated in every single little video that I do. That way it's more bite-sized and there's more diversity in the information. And then like today, like this episode, the official episode number 2, what I'm going to be doing on the weekend is a nice long video talking about history. And one of the things that I'm going to start doing is as soon as I get the Great Reset book, I'm going to start talking about that. And my family's going to start reading The Art of War. So we're going to start going over that. And I might read, because The Art of War is very interesting. It actually has excerpts from Julius Caesar and some of the Chinese dynasties and warlords and stuff in it. It's actually really super informative and kind of insane. But there's a lot of cool bits of information in it that aren't too exuberant that we'd be able to actually talk about. Catch me next time. Thank you very much. If you watched, have a good one.